The colony of Haven 4 was small but proud. It stood on the edge of the Perseus Reach, where the stars looked close enough to touch and the winds of a new world carried the scent of metal and rain. The settlers had come from many places on Earth, farmers, engineers, and dreamers. But they all shared the same belief that humanity's reach should never stop growing. Among them was Captain Laura Bennett, once of the Earth Defense Fleet, who had chosen to leave the military to guide a new world instead of guard an old one. She stood on the landing platform as the morning sun rose over the silver plains. Children laughed as they carried food crates to the mess hall. The colony's small defense satellites orbited quietly overhead, never expecting trouble. Haven 4 had lived 10 peaceful years without a single threat from the stars. That peace ended in an instant. The sky tore open with a crack of light. The alarm siren screamed before anyone could react. 3 ships appeared from warp, their hulls dark and curved like knives. They were not human. They bore the mark of the Zir Dominion, a cold, ruthless empire known for enslaving weaker worlds. Their commander Vurak had heard of the human colonies and saw an easy conquest. "Open channels," Laura ordered, her voice steady though her heart pounded. "This is Haven 4, a peaceful human settlement. Identify yourselves." Static answered her. Then the reply came, a deep voice filled with disdain. "You claim territory in Dominion space. Surrender your colony and technology or be destroyed." Laura knew surrender meant death or worse. "This is human space," she replied. "Leave now." The enemy ships fired. Columns of plasma struck the surface, burning the city in moments. The atmosphere turned to fire. Laura ran toward the shelters, pulling a child out of the path of falling debris, her radio filled with screams. The defense drones launched automatically, brave but useless against warships built for planetary assault. From orbit, Vurak watched the destruction without emotion. To him, it was nothing more than cleansing pests from a garden. When his second officer asked if they should leave survivors, he shook his head. "Erase it. Let the humans know their limits." By nightfall, Haven 4 was gone. Only one distress signal escaped, carried by a small courier drone that had launched just before the command center fell. It was damaged, its transmission weak, but it held one clear message: Haven 4 under attack. Thousands dead. Unknown alien force, help us. The drone traveled for weeks through the void until it reached the nearest human relay outpost near Mars. The operators who received the signal could hardly believe it. The Dominion had never dared to strike a human colony directly. The transmission was verified and sent to Earth Defense Command. When the footage reached General Ethan Brooks, silence filled the war room. The images showed burning cities, charred fields, and the final moments of human lives. The faces of men, women, and children flickered across the screen before turning to static. The general stood motionless. Then he said quietly, "Contact the president." Within hours, the United Earth Council convened. Ambassadors shouted, some demanding investigation, others calling for restraint. But the people watching across Earth, Luna, and the colonies did not want patience. They wanted justice. For the first time in 2 generations, the United Government heard the old word whispered again. Retaliation. The decision came at dawn. Earth would respond. Fleet Admiral Karen Doyle received her orders at the Lunar Command Center. She had seen wars end in ash before, and she understood what it meant to open the gates again. "How far do we go?" she asked. "As far as it takes," the president said. Preparations began instantly. The solar armada, silent for decades, came alive. Shipyards lit up, reactors roared, and forgotten war machines were awakened. Humanity's fleets had been built for defense, but now they would carry vengeance. On a cold morning, Admiral Doyle stood aboard the battleship Resolute, looking down at the blue world below. Around her, hundreds of ships assembled, frigates, cruisers, dreadnoughts, each marked with the insignia of Earth and the colonies that had joined in grief and anger. As the fleet prepared to depart, engineers across the network linked their quantum relays. Pilots strapped into their seats, whispering names of those lost on Haven 4. None spoke of mercy. Before departure, Doyle transmitted a single message to the Dominion border, to the Guir Dominion. "You destroyed a human colony. You took lives that had done you no harm. This is our only warning. Withdraw from human space and surrender those responsible. You have 48 hours. The message was ignored. The Dominion laughed. Vurak himself received it and scoffed. Humans bark like cubs pretending to roar, he said. Let them come. But the humans were coming, and this time they were not coming to negotiate. As the fleet vanished into the jump corridors, The stars behind them burned with the fury of an entire species that had finally been reminded of what it meant to fight for its own. The human fleet jumped into Dominion space and emerged near the Orpheus system. Stars stretched in long lines around them as the ship stabilized and formed a battle formation. Admiral Doyle stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes scanning the sensors that tracked every Dominion movement. Her crew worked with precision, each command executed without hesitation. Captain Laura Bennett had joined the fleet, her experience from Haven 4 making her a symbol of survival and determination. She moved through the corridors, offering guidance and reassurance to young pilots who had never faced real combat. The Dominion fleet awaited, a mass of dark ships that glimmered like black ice against the stars. Vurak had sent word that he would meet the humans himself, confident that their firepower could not match the Dominion's war engines. Silence filled the bridge as the human fleet approached the system's outer planets. Doyle spoke, her voice calm but resolute. Today we remind them that humans do not yield. Ships responded with the hum of engines and weapon systems came online. Missiles streaked toward the Dominion line, but the human fleet held back, choosing strategy over anger. Laura watched from the Resolute's observation deck as the enemy ships moved into formation, their patterns sharp and disciplined. They were fast, lethal, and ruthless, but the humans had something they did not expect: calculated patience and unity. The first exchanges were small, tactical, testing the enemy's defenses. Human frigates launched precision strikes, hitting supply and communication ships. The Dominion responded with overwhelming firepower, but the humans used the system's asteroid fields and debris to their advantage. Doyle coordinated maneuvers that allowed smaller human ships to strike and retreat, leaving Dominion vessels confused and divided. Laura directed squads of pilots, their voices tight over comms. Each ship she guided survived impossible situations, avoiding collisions and blasts with sharp instincts honed from years of training. Hours passed. The Dominion lost more vessels than it could replace in the field. Vurak, seeing the destruction, grew furious. His pride would not allow retreat. He ordered concentrated fire on the Resolute. Missiles struck the ship's shields and the bridge shook from the impact. Sparks flew as alarms sounded. Admiral Doyle kept calm, issuing counter-commands. Human ships moved to protect the Resolute, forming a wall of shields and weapons fire. Laura piloted a strike team herself, taking out Vurak's forward artillery. The Dominion fleet began to falter, their coordination breaking under the human offensive. Doyle transmitted a warning to Vurak. "Your chance to surrender has passed. Humanity will not stop until justice is done." Vurak's reply was bitter. "You dare threaten the Seer Dominion? You will be erased." He activated a device that no human had ever seen before, a massive weapon capable of destroying planets from orbit. Doyle's face hardened. She knew what this meant. If it fired, entire worlds would be wiped out. She had to act quickly. Laura suggested a plan, combining the fleet's speed and firepower to disable the weapon before it could charge. Doyle approved. Human ships moved in perfect synchronization, dodging beams of energy that tore through space around them. Explosions rocked the Dominion vessels as coordinated strikes took out the weapon's power conduits. Vurak screamed orders, but the humans moved faster than he could respond. The weapon sparked and fell silent, destroyed before it could fire. The Dominion fleet wavered, unsteady without its superweapon. Doyle ordered a final push, targeting command ships and supply lines. The human fleet, though smaller, moved with precision and purpose. One by one, Dominion ships fell, leaving the system littered with wreckage. Vurak realized he was losing. He tried to retreat, but Laura anticipated the maneuver and directed interceptors to cut off escape routes. His ships were destroyed, and the remaining forces surrendered. Silence followed the battle. The stars around the Orpheus system glimmered, unbroken except for the smoke and debris of defeated Dominion vessels. Doyle allowed herself a small sigh of relief. Laura moved among the crews, offering comfort and words of pride. Humans had taken their first vengeance for Haven 4, but the fight was not over. Messages were sent back to Earth, telling the story of the fleet's success and the Dominion's losses. Earth celebrated, but the leaders knew this was only a warning to the galaxy. Humanity would not be treated as weak again. As the fleet prepared to leave Orpheus, Doyle and Laura looked out at the stars. They were beautiful yet deadly. Somewhere in the distance, other threats waited. But humans had proven one thing: they would fight and they would protect what was theirs. And if any world dared destroy a human colony again, They would face the full force of Earth and its people. The fleet jumped out of the system, leaving the wreckage behind, and set course for the next Dominion stronghold. Vengeance had begun, and humanity would not stop until the galaxy knew fear of their name. The human fleet continued its campaign across Dominion space, moving from system to system with a singular purpose. Admiral Doyle coordinated strikes that disabled key infrastructure and supply routes, but she ensured that civilian lives were spared wherever possible. Laura Bennett led teams on boarding actions, salvaging intelligence and technology to strengthen Earth's fleet. Every victory was carefully calculated. Word of the human offensive spread through the Dominion, causing panic and confusion. Systems that once believed themselves safe now faced the reality that humans could strike anywhere. Vurak's failure to contain the fleet had weakened his authority, and rival commanders questioned his leadership. In the midst of the campaign, Earth scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop new technology from the Dominion artifacts recovered. Weapons were refined, shields improved, and navigation systems upgraded. Humans were learning at a pace no one expected. The Dominion sent reinforcements, but the humans had grown accustomed to their tactics. Ambushes in asteroid belts, sudden jumps near hostile planets, and precise targeting of supply lines made it impossible for Dominion forces to regroup. Laura found herself in the middle of a critical mission on the planet Arcturus 7. The Dominion had fortified a command center that controlled the local sector. Her squad landed under heavy fire, using terrain and stealth to approach the facility. Explosions erupted around them, but Laura remained focused, guiding her team to plant charges at structural weak points. Communication with the fleet kept them synchronized with orbital strikes. After hours of maneuvering and firefights, the team successfully detonated the charges, collapsing the command center and severing Dominion communications. The impact was immediate. Dominion ships in the sector were left directionless, and many surrendered to the humans. Laura and her team returned to the Resolute, exhausted but triumphant. Doyle met them on the bridge, her expression a mix of pride and caution. The campaign had been successful, but she knew the Dominion would retaliate in ways humans could not predict. Messages arrived from Earth congratulating the fleet, but the leaders reminded everyone that the campaign was not over. Humans had struck a warning, but the Dominion was vast and pockets of resistance remained. Laura spent hours reviewing intelligence reports. She saw patterns of Dominion reinforcements converging on the outer systems. Their desperation was evident, and humans could exploit it. A decision was made to target the Dominion staging system, a critical hub from which their fleets coordinated attacks. The fleet jumped into the system, emerging among a dense cluster of planets and moons. Doyle and Laura observed the Dominion's presence. Hundreds of ships and installations filled the area, but the humans had prepared extensively. Coordinated strikes disabled the primary defense satellites, while boarding parties targeted key facilities. Battles raged across space and planetary surfaces. Human ingenuity and determination proved superior to Dominion discipline and technology. Doyle personally led the strike against the main control hub, using the Resolute's advanced systems to navigate through heavy fire. Laura coordinated land operations, ensuring her teams achieved objectives with minimal loss of life. After days of intense fighting, the system fell. Dominion forces were either destroyed or captured, and the human fleet held full control. The campaign had shown the galaxy that humans would not be passive victims. They could fight with precision, strategy, and unity. Messages of defiance and strength were transmitted to remaining Dominion systems. Laura took a moment to reflect. The journey had begun with vengeance for Haven 4, but it had grown into something larger. Humanity was reclaiming its place in the galaxy, refusing to bow or submit. Doyle spoke to the fleet. Your courage has changed the tide. Humanity is not just surviving. We are proving our power. The fleet cheered, and even the quiet engineers and pilots allowed themselves a moment of pride. Yet in the depths of space, shadows lingered. Vurak survived, and the Dominion's leaders were regrouping, planning ways to strike back. Laura knew that the human campaign was far from over. But for now, they had shown the galaxy that when humans were pushed to the edge, they did not falter. They fought, and they won. The fleet moved forward, ready for the next challenge, determined that no human colony would ever fall again without consequence. Across the systems, the stars shone, and humanity's resolve burned brighter than any weapon in the Dominion arsenal. The human fleet continued its push deeper into Dominion territory, moving like a tide that could not be stopped. Admiral Doyle and Captain Laura Bennett coordinated every strike with precision. Every operation was carefully planned and every crew member knew their role. Humans fought not only with weapons but with intelligence, using every piece of recovered Dominion technology to their advantage. On the planet Seraphis, the Dominion had established a massive industrial complex to build warships and weapons. Humans could not allow it to operate. Laura led a strike team through dense forests that hid the facility from orbital sensors. Explosions ripped through the trees as the humans approached, drawing the Dominion defenders into traps set in advance. Laura moved with determination, her team following without hesitation. Communications buzzed with updates as orbital bombardments hit precise targets, disabling turrets and supply lines. The Dominion defenders were overwhelmed by the coordination and speed of the human attack. By the end of the first day, the facility was crippled, its shipyards burning and production halted. Admiral Doyle congratulated her officers, but she knew this was just one battle in a long war. Intelligence reports indicated that Vurak had retreated to the system's capital planet, rallying remaining forces for a counterattack. Humans anticipated the move, fleet formations adjusted, and strike teams prepared for landing operations. Laura's unit was chosen to lead the assault on the capital planet's defense installations. They moved through narrow canyons and across plains, avoiding the main roads where traps were set. The Dominion had fortified positions, but human adaptability and clever tactics allowed them to advance with fewer casualties than expected. Explosions, gunfire, and the roar of engines filled the air. Laura coordinated with orbital support, calling in precise strikes on enemy strongholds while her team moved to key positions on the ground. Dominion soldiers fought with desperation, but humans fought with determination and strategy. After intense fighting, the capital's defenses fell, opening the way for the human fleet to move in and secure the planet. Vurak was forced to retreat further, his remaining forces scattered and weakened. Messages were sent back to Earth announcing the victory. Humans celebrated, but Doyle reminded everyone that the campaign was far from over. The Dominion was wounded but not defeated. Humans had proven their power, but they had also drawn attention from other civilizations in the galaxy. Some watched with fear, others with curiosity. Across the fleet, engineers and scientists continued to improve ships and weapons, ensuring humans stayed ahead of any potential threat. Laura reflected on the campaign so far. Each victory had been hard-won. Each life lost weighed heavily on her. But she knew that this was necessary to protect humanity. The fleet moved from system to system, each step weakening the Dominion's hold and spreading the message that humans would not tolerate attacks on their colonies. Civilian colonies and nearby systems sent support, providing supplies, intelligence, and volunteers. Humans were united, and the determination of their people fueled the fleet's progress. Admiral Doyle monitored every operation, making sure every decision was precise and every move counted. The Dominion was formidable, but humans had learned and adapted faster than anyone expected. They exploited weaknesses and turned every opportunity into a victory. As the fleet advanced, Laura received reports of Dominion leaders plotting secret operations against Earth itself. Humans could not allow this. She worked with Doyle to plan preemptive strikes to neutralize threats before they could harm their homeworld. Every action was deliberate, aimed at securing humanity's safety and sending a clear message to the galaxy. Attacks on human colonies would never go unanswered. Days passed and the fleet continued to dominate. Humans fought fiercely, often outnumbered, but their courage, intelligence, and determination allowed them to win against impossible odds. Stories of the fleet's victories spread throughout human space and beyond. They became symbols of hope and power, showing that humans were a force that could not be ignored. Laura watched from the bridge of the Resolute as planets and stars passed by, thinking of the colonies that had suffered and the people they were protecting. Humanity had begun as a vulnerable species, but it had grown into a power capable of confronting even the mightiest empires. The Dominion would remember this campaign, and the galaxy would know that humans were not to be underestimated. With every system secured, the fleet pressed onward, leaving the Dominion reeling and humanity stronger than ever before. The message was clear: harm humans and the consequences would be total and absolute. The final battle approached. The human fleet had pursued Vurak to the Dominion's central system, the heart of their empire. Intelligence showed massive fleets gathering to stop the humans, but Earth had prepared meticulously. Admiral Doyle coordinated every move with care, her experience and calm leadership guiding the fleet. Captain Laura Bennett led landing operations on the central planet, where the Dominion had its government and main command structures. The atmosphere was tense as the fleet moved into formation. Every ship, every soldier, every pilot understood the stakes. Humans could not fail. The first exchanges were fierce. Dominion ships tried to halt the fleet with overwhelming firepower, but humans had learned from every previous encounter. Shields held, weapons fired with precision, and maneuvers outmatched even the experienced Dominion commanders. Laura's strike teams moved swiftly across the planet, taking control of key points and disabling defenses. Explosions shook the ground and beams of energy lit the skies, but the humans advanced relentlessly. Communications with the fleet allowed coordination of orbital strikes and land assaults. The Dominion fought with desperation, but humans were determined. Every action had a purpose. Vurak watched from his command station as humans dismantled his defenses piece by piece. Anger and fear mixed in his mind, but he could not counter the fleet's strategy. The humans had adapted, improved, and learned faster than the Dominion anticipated. Laura moved through the battlefields, ensuring her team achieved objectives, rescuing civilians where possible, and leading attacks with precision. Her leadership inspired confidence in those around her, and even the youngest recruits followed her without hesitation. Hours turned into days. The human fleet pushed through the central system, destroying supply lines, disabling communications, and cutting off reinforcements. Dominion ships fell one by one, their formations broken, their will crumbling. Admiral Doyle coordinated the final assault on the system's central star. Humanity had the capability to end the Dominion threat permanently, and she knew it was necessary. She transmitted a message to Vurak: "Your empire ends here. Surrender or be erased." Silence followed, and then Vurak responded with fury. "You will pay for every loss." He activated the central weapon, a supermassive device capable of obliterating planets. The humans acted instantly. Fleet maneuvers diverted fire away from the central planets, while Laura led a team to the weapons control facility. Explosions and gunfire filled the corridors as they moved with precision. The weapon's power cores were destroyed before it could fire. Vurak's forces were scattered and leaderless. Human ships concentrated fire on the remaining vessels, and one by one, the Dominion fleet was destroyed. The system's planets were secured, and humans had complete control. The galaxy had witnessed the full might of humanity. Earth and its colonies celebrated, but the fleet remained vigilant. Messages were sent across space, warning any who might consider attacking humans in the future. Humanity had proven it would not tolerate aggression. Laura looked at the stars, thinking of Haven 4 and the other colonies that had suffered. The vengeance had been total, and justice had been served. Humans had erased the threat to their species and ensured no colony would ever fall without consequence. The fleet returned home, triumphant but cautious, knowing the galaxy had taken note of human power. Across Earth, Luna, and the colonies, people celebrated, but leaders reminded them that unity and vigilance were the keys to continued survival. Humanity had grown stronger, more capable, and wiser. The Dominion had been defeated, and a new era began, one in which humans would not be pushed, ignored, or destroyed. Across the stars, a warning remained clear: harm humans, and you face the full force of their people. Laura and Admiral Doyle stood together on the Resolute, looking out at the stars. They had avenged the fallen, protected the living, and ensured the future. Humanity had shown that when pushed to the edge, it would rise and strike back with unstoppable force. The galaxy would never forget the power of humans again,